Hi, I'm Ulysses,
I'm James.
and this is Comics Odyssey. Happy Canada Day, everybody. And today we're going to do a little celebratory um, podcast by looking at Captain Canuck. I have issues 1 to 13. Here's my stack, including the summer special. So this was actually a 15 issue run. I was going to buy issue 14 and 15 as well, but the eBay sellers I felt were a little greedy in their pricing, so I'm holding back. But we got basically essentially the whole run that we can look at. We are going to look at every issue. Obviously, we're not going to do a blow by blow of the story. That's not really the thing that's attracting us here. We're going to be checking more the story of the publication of this comic. So, kind of like the story behind the story. So, let's get going. Are you ready, James?
I am ready.
Okay. So, issue one, 1975, extra priced. It was kind of a little bit bigger too than the comics that were coming out. So dimensions a little bit bigger. Um, First fantastic issue is The Promise. I want to say, stay tuned because in issue 3, there's a special Canadian celebrity appearance that I'm sure that you've heard about, that it will blow your mind that this guy actually appears in there. So there's a little what you call like a hook for this episode. I was actually really I showed this to my wife. She's like, "What?" And it was like this whole thing in our house, like that this guy appeared in the show. So
William Shatner.
good guess, but not William Shatner. Um, So yeah, Cumley Comics. It's called Cumley Comics because Richard Cumley was the co-creator of Captain Canuck, and he went ahead and launched the book. And there's some he co-created it with Ron Leishman, which is really interesting because we'll be looking in a few issues. Uh, he seemed to have sort of kind of yanked the baton away from Ron Leishman to do this. But the story is that in the 1970s, they got to talking about having a Canadian superhero because there wasn't one. In the 1940s, there was a quite healthy Canadian comics market, but by the mid 50s, it had completely collapsed because the market was 100% propped up by what's called the War Exchange Act. So in the 1940s, for Canada to ostensibly protect domestic industry, uh, because they were participating in the war effort, they actually started uh, locking out certain U.S. imports. So what was kind of considered luxury uh, items, including comic books and the materials to fabricate them, like plates for printing. So what
Wait,
happened is,
I have to
as a
interrupt. I have to
sorry,
interrupt. Sorry. Was Canada stopping the import of the IP so that we didn't use the stuff to print them in Canada, or were we just stopping the finished products of comic books from coming in?
we're stopping the finished products. Actually, a really good question because
How, how's that helping anybody? Please answer.
I know I read about the War Exchange Act, and it sounded really fishy to me, like the story as to why it was happening. It's they give like financial, like economic justification for it, but it sounded more political because up until that point America was neutral in the war. So it sounded a little bit more like an anti-America thing than a. So
Ah,
I don't know exactly. So it's a good question. But the result was that a Canadian comic book industry flourished, and as you point out, they did. There was an industry of sort of licensed comics coming from America. So the American scripts would come here and they would get drawn by Canadian artists, right? Um, you couldn't in those days really just like fax like artwork, right? The,
yeah.
the only thing that the way you reproduce the art was through this plate technology, and you needed to have the original plates in order to print like the whatever the Spider-Man comic or whatever, right? So anyway, it was this whole thing. I don't know the exact details of it, but uh, a lot of Canadians just saw an opportunity to start comic book companies, and you got Nelvana of the Northern Lights is famous to come out of that in the 1940s.
Oh, very famous. Everybody knows Nelvana.
So it's not the Smells Like Teen Spirit Nirvana. It's yeah. So, but by the 1950s, the War Exchange Act had ended, and then Canadians the had like kind of artificially cut out competition, and when it came back in from the South, they it just died off because people went for Spider-Man and Daredevil and Batman, right? So in the 1970s, these guys decided to put, throw their hat in the ring to, you know, duke it out with the big two and everything. And so they launch this first issue of Captain Canuck to much fanfare. There was a lot of press covering it, a lot of kind of like patriotism and curiosity about Canada's very own superhero, who is kind of modeled after Captain America.
Yeah, yeah, he's the state hero. He doesn't have the arms. He doesn't have the shield or the. I don't know if he has the super serum or anything like that. It didn't get that deep into the series.
Yeah. Well, at some point, they do kind of a retcon that he got superpowers from aliens.
Oh,
But the first thing that strikes me is, unlike comic books of this era, is straight away the first like 4 pages here, or the first 4 sheets, so 3 sheets in, it's glossy paper, right, as opposed to newsprint here. So you can
and the
see
rest
that
are newsprint?
the
No
rest,
kidding.
yeah, the rest is newsprint. So this was like number one. We're putting our best foot forward. We really want to, make it like a really like an exciting event, right? Hang on.
The
Yeah.
the what I'm looking for, the setting pictures, the backdrops, like that.
Yes.
Yeah, it almost looks like a photograph. It's just a good drawing.
100% a photograph. That's what it is.
Of course, yeah, I'm teasing.
So this is Richard Cumley does this, and eventually the art duties transfer to George Freeman, and it starts looking much less like an underground comic and a little bit more like a proper comic. So we see here original character Ron Leishman, and then the rest of the. So Richard Cumley, it's the Richard Cumley show, the first bit of this. Like, he hustled to make the comic, write it, draw it, letter it, color it, the whole thing, and get sponsors. Like, he hustled to get ads in.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was my first impression too is it looked really underground.
Henry,
You
I
made
was
it.
hoping you'd
Huh?
join. Hello, Henry. I'm so glad you came.
Yeah, I thought you guys weren't starting until 6:15 Pacific.
Well, time zones are tough to manage, but we're here. Um, Welcome aboard. This is Henry. I'm so glad you came because you are an American, down to the bones, as I understand it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. There is an interesting Canada America story which we did discuss earlier, regarding the War Exchange Act and the comics industry.
Yeah, I
Um,
caught the very end of that. Sound,
yeah.
I was interested in what you were saying.
So where were we? So he launches this, Captain Canuck. The first thing to strike me here is the whole story is quite pro-capitalist, anti-communist. That's the first story, which I feel doesn't really, for some reason, that doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, for some reason. I noticed that too. I was pleasantly surprised that not only were they not, there was no self-hatred, um, but that they seemed to be a very patriotic uh, Canadian and proud of it kind of publication.
hmm Um, yeah, well, they're close. They're closer to the Cold War, which I'm sure
Hmm.
stokes the anti-communist sentiment there.
It must be because the big threat is that Canada is going to be held hostage through nuclear weapons.
Yeah, and the very first story is involves nuclear missiles, that the communists, like somehow secretly set up in the north of Canada, and they aim it at the prairies, which is the food comes from. And the whole premise is that this is Canada in 1994, which is wishful thinking. Is Canada is like the most important country in the world.
Yeah, because of the natural resources.
hmm Instead of playing second fiddle to America, which I feel is a very Canadian thing. I've always uh, felt that Canadians have a bit of an insecure relationship at being the neighbor to the world's superpower, right?
Absolutely.
I kind of wondered about that if there's sort of a resentment there, but all the Canadians I've met have been pretty nice people.
Yeah, in general, that doesn't happen. In here and there, you get people that get swept up in in a down on America sentiment, but it really doesn't happen that much. Mostly, it's gets worked out in like hockey games, and that's pretty much it.
It's my whole neighborhood. It's a lot of Ottawa. The modern liberal base, people who vote for the Liberal Party, a lot of what they have to offer nowadays is basically anti-Trump and through that anti-America. So I worked at a bunch of restaurants when the tariffs went down. One restaurant went from calling American cheese on burgers, they call it American burger, and now it's called a craft burger. They prefer. I mean, it's really petty. Yeah, we stopped ordering
Yes,
from our restaurants from the states,
it's ridiculous.
and it was advertised accordingly. And there's Canadian flags all over the place from the same
Well,
people, to protest the American economy and the tariffs and everything. From the same people who a year prior were saying that Canada is, an awful place. We don't have any culture to defend, things like that.
Mhm.
yeah, and just during the trucker protests, the same people were probably what were uh, criticizing the waving of the flag as some sort of aggression, or an aggressive move or something.
Some people called it, yeah, some people called it, what was it, like fascist adjacent or something, or Western
Yeah,
chauvinist.
yeah, some sort of pseudo intellectual kind of term like that. Yeah,
Yeah, we got the same thing going on down here.
yeah,
Uh,
Yep.
yeah,
yeah.
We might be
People are
far
people.
ahead of you guys, though, where that's concerned. We've got an advanced program running.
you, you are you're the cutting edge.
Yeah.
This comic book also features a like backup story. They call it John, which is kind of a bland name, but it's science fantasy thing about a spacefarer who lands in a fantastical world. Again, it's pretty much all comely art, comely scripts. It does mention Ron Leishman in the as a co-creator of this series and of Captain Canuck, but we'll see later that there was maybe a bit of a tug of war between Connolly and Leishman, and we'll see that in an editorial later. Yeah.
Hey, y'all, I'm going to step away for just a second.
Yep. Leishman, though being a co-creator, doesn't make that much of an appearance in here, other than in credits and in an editorial. And he gets mentioned in here, sort of as a courtesy.
Is that an ad for custom dog tags?
Yep.
Nice. You know, you're in the 70s.
This one says, "Love spreads germs. Quick, make me sick."
Wow, the marketing's incredible.
Yeah. And this one says, "Help, I need lovin'." Here, "I'm a sex maniac. In case of emergency, give me a kiss."
Oh. Sounds like a piece of assistance that would lead to escalation.
"Love me, squeeze me, take me home."
Who exactly are these dog tags for?
What did I miss?
We're looking at the dog tags here that are quite horny and perverted.
Your
Really?
American comic books apparently would sell, cereal to kids, and Canadian comic books, the ads sell dog tags to perverts.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, these are American ads. It's from Lexington Avenue, New York.
Oh, so we just exported our perverts up there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and American comic books back then, it was like Secret Agent Spy Scope and, Secret Agent Radio, X-ray glasses.
There's some of that here.
Decoder.
Magic
Oh, yeah, I
Brain
recognize some of
Calculator.
those.
Yeah. Hot pepper gum. So it's just, to me, the whole energy of this is really like frenetic. Let's just get it done. Like, fuck it, we'll make a comic. Let's just go. Like, it puts photographs, it's collage. Like, there's an incredible amount of hustle I see here. And they're going all out. They've got merch up the yin yang. They got Captain Canuck plaques. They got visors later on. They're like, this guy set himself up. He's like, this was a commercial enterprise, like, no bones about it.
Yeah.
So how long did Captain Canuck last?
On and off. It's still technically still exists, but it went 15 issues over, I want to say about 5 years, 4 or 5 years, the original run. Here they're not approved by the Comics Code Authority, which was definitely like a thing back then, but they're saying we still believe in its tenets, so we self-police. Richard Cumley was a Mormon, like a good wholesome Mormon boy, and there's some more information about that later on in some of the later issues. And this is a feature in the early issues where they have illustration fundamentals. So if you pick up a comic and you're interested in drawing, you can learn drawing through the comic this way.
Is that 8 heads or 6? It's 8.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 heads.
Yeah, that's generally the heroic posture. I think actually humans are somewhere between 6 and 7, but
Yeah.
comic books want the body to have like, more muscles and more abs and pecs and need more room for the muscles.
Yeah. The physically ideal male he's talking about here.
Nice.
Yeah. So the
Richard Cumley. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, please.
I was going to ask where did he come up? You might have explained this already. Where did he come up with the money to start making his own comics?
I don't know. It just says he came up with the money. That's all I could find. I couldn't find any. He might have just had money. I don't know. And the financial woes will come up. They do talk about it in the letters pages and stuff.
But that he lasted 5 years is pretty impressive.
Well, there's some they pivoted at one point, and we'll see that in a few issues actually. Issue 2, Richard Cumley's graphic design background really like on display here. This doesn't look so much like a comic, but more like a magazine, you know.
Yeah. Now, is there a name for that art style?
Yeah, I don't know.
It kind of reminds me of some of the late 60s psychedelic art.
Reminds me a little bit of paint by numbers stuff, because these open areas are supposed to fill in.
I guess that's what it is.
Yeah. Doesn't look like Richard Cumley's work on here though, but it could be. So here they're introducing Redcoat and Quebec, which are these two super agents that come back, that kind of recur throughout the series.
I love that one of our characters' names is just the name of a province. But
I noticed that too.
QU and put in a K.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now the burning question, of course, is: do I order the Muscle Fighter 4 program or the Bullworker 2?
Yeah.
I'm definitely a Muscle Fighter 4 guy.
I don't know. The results speak volumes here. What I like is the enthusiasm here. I wish I had more of the balls of Richard Cumley is kind of like trying to embody kind of the Stan Lee ethic of like, everything's fantastic. We're the best. Like, this is the second issue of Captain Canuck. Everything's great. You know, it's very that kind of attitude. Richard Cumley is a great graphic designer, maybe not so great an illustrator. He does fine. I mean, it's good, but you can tell in his typography, he's got more strength there. And the coloring is unlike anything that was on the shelf back in those days. This style of coloring, and certainly not, this photo montage type of thing. That was not a thing at all. This is completely coming out of left field.
That remains controversial, that style.
Mm-hmm.
What do you know about? What do you know about the controversy, James?
Oh, it's a hit or miss. Some people are pretty impressed by it. It makes it look really realistic. It looks like Spider-Man's actually in New York, kind of thing. And for others, for me personally, it's sort of like a drawing on a background that's photographed. Just it undermines the illusion of the artwork, and I can't look at it the same way.
So it's kind of either you love it or you hate it kind of thing.
Yeah, and I'm really bad at backgrounds. I need to put I would like to start drawing a comic book at some point in the next 10 years, and one of the things I have to work on most is the backgrounds. So it's definitely something. It's not a thing you just take up and start drawing casually. You have to start learning how to draw chairs and tables and move your way up into diners and into cars. Like, it's so hard to draw cars, especially on a highway, because they're all supposed to be in the same dimension, perspective. It's really, really tricky. So I'm not trying to talk shit about the guy, but um, yeah, it's one of the ways you can do a shortcut for sure is by just using a photograph, and it saves a lot of time, and I'm sure the pencilers love it.
Well,
Well,
and today it's so easy because you can. I'm sorry.
no, please.
I was just gonna say today it's so easy because you can use AI or even Photoshop or something to make a photograph look like it came from a comic panel, and then
Yeah,
just draw your foreground over that.
Well, that's the point I was going to bring up. Like, I'm sure it saved time, but now you can just pop a photograph in Photoshop so quickly. But then, like, there was like you had to cut it out, and uh, you had to like, shrink it using, photographs, various like reproduction technology. So there was a bit of an artistry to it. This one in particular there's a controversy about this panel. This character's pointing to this train and it's saying like we have to arrest this mad scientist, and some people wrote in and saying this is actually a picture um, from a train in Montreal, and it contains the image of the mayor of Montreal at that time.
the
Nice
madman
touch.
has to be stopped.
The
Sorry,
coloring's definitely the strongest point of this book at this point.
it was kind of prophetic because Montreal mayors are some of the most mafia criminal element in the country and have been pretty much consistently for the last at least 50 years.
There you go. Art imitates life. I thought this was really good spread, probably the best of Cumley's work in Captain Canuck.
I thought the same thing when I saw that panel, that page.
It's very
I
striking.
It was a wasted opportunity because this villain comes in, and eventually the villain removes the goggles, so that's his look, just a guy with a beard, and his story ends 2 pages later. I was like, this is gonna be cool. We're gonna have like kind of a begoggled super villain, but he doesn't really do anything with it.
I did find the storytelling was unusual, and I'm curious. Does it strike you all as unorthodox, or is that kind of a, you know, is Canadian storytelling that different from American storytelling?
No, it's there's definitely some issues going. Like I didn't really get into it. I just kind of skimmed it. It's not good. It's it's rough. But there's a reason for that, and we'll see it in an issue or two there. This is first appearance of George Freeman, who is eventually it goes from the Richard Cumley show to the George Freeman show, and the book definitely improves for it, and we'll see that later. But this is George Freeman doing the illustration fundamentals. George Freeman did go on to be like a professional. He had an illustrious career. He's his most reprinted work is a Batman story he did with Alan Moore. And yeah, so
Oh, see, this is really nice.
So this is George Freeman, right?
Okay.
And you see his Joe Kubert influences come up here for sure.
Most def, yeah.
Yeah. And so this is a really like a statement when you pick up a book and you're reading Captain Canuck and you get to the backup feature and it's like miles better. Raises some eyebrows as a reader, right? Here's an editorial he wrote on Richard Comley did a study when he was at the University of Utah, on the uh, behavioral influence of movies and TV have on people, and he's discussing that, like, more the violence of it. But I mean, he's definitely onto something. Um, but
There's a
it
good chapter. Sorry, go on.
no, please.
There's a good chapter in a great book called Freakonomics for anybody who's into stats about how in the States the rollout of cable television wasn't all ubiquitous. It didn't hit all the cities and states at the same time. It started in the big urban centers like New York or California, and the
Right.
smaller,
Yeah.
less populated places would get cable television access later on. And they found that all of the rates, they just kind of caught on to this overlap and looked really closely into it, and it was almost perfect synchronicity. As cable television spread, all of the locations that received it got a sudden spike in crime rates and clinical depression.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it might be true, but it did remind me, because I grew up. So he grew up Mormon, so he was a Mormon at the time. I grew up Jehovah's Witness, and there's some overlap in their, like, aesthetic and vibe, and it did kind of remind me of, like, growing up reading The Watchtower. This article here,
Huh.
like the newsprint and the inset images and the discussing the problems of society and stuff.
Is that something they do in the Watchtower with those images?
Yeah, well, in the old Watchtowers back in the day, we used to have, like, the collected volumes, and I would, like, look through them to see the images, because sometimes there'd be drawings. Right?
Okay.
I was just, like, hungry to see drawings, and it, this kind of four color printing style, um, just wasn't great. So the letters are coming in, and this is where we're about to see the appearance of a major Canadian and now international celebrity. I believe this may be his first first published work. We got a young man, 15 years old, from Fairview, Alberta, by the name of Jordan Peterson.
Get out of here.
So, you guys want me to read Jordan Peterson's letter to the editor for Captain Canuck?
Please do.
Okay, so he goes, "Dear Richard Cumley, I have decided to take your suggestion about writing. It's about time Canada had a comic book superhero. I have a few questions. Does Canuck have any superpowers? From radiation, maybe? On pages 14 and 15, how do Captain Canuck and Blue Fox lose their clear plastic helmets? Well, enough of that. For a first edition, your comic book was great. Now listen to this. I have copies of the first editions of Batman, Superman, The Flash, Wonder Woman, and Captain Marvel. These are American comics, and they are not nearly as good as your first edition. Now, for a few suggestions, maybe a letter page in your mag. If Blue Fox wasn't killed, he would be a good steady villain. Maybe you should introduce a steady line of characters, such as Blue Fox against Captain Canuck occasionally. Well, end of letter. Your mag was great, and I thought that your using photographs was a great idea."
There you go.
Just a small town boy in 1975 came to be the illustrious Dr. Peterson.
You're sure that's the same guy?
Well, if Dr. Peterson is from Fairview, Alberta, how many Jordan Petersons would there be there?
And he reads.
Oh, that's true. You guys got a lot smaller population. You're like, what, 50 million?
Yeah, Fairview's a small town.
Okay.
Now, I think 38 or so, 34.
38 million, yeah. And
At
so
this
Fairview
point,
is
a lot smaller, 25.
Yeah, exactly. And Fairview is like a tiny northern Alberta town. It's not like a city. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah. So if it's a Jordan Peterson from Fairview, Alberta, um, and he would have been that age, right? I calculated the age going back, how old he
Uh-huh.
is now. He would have been about 14, 15 years old.
And
Yeah.
Please excuse my ignorance.
Not at all.
he reads like a young nerd too, like in his letter. Enough
He
of that.
does.
Yeah. Well, enough of that. Yeah. Jordan Peterson was a socialist back then.
Yeah.
So letters to the editor. Um, there was, I think it was DC. I'm not sure. I used to read those, and I get so bored. I'd read the comic stories so many times. I'd read the letters to the editor, and there was someone named Elizabeth Smith who wrote in frequently, and her name stuck with me because I knew a girl in school with that name. But eventually, she started writing. She wound up being a writer, and I guess what I can assume is that she found her way into writing by sending letters to the editor.
There you
Wow.
go. You got to practice.
That's sort of like Mark Bagley. Mark Bagley? Mark Bagley? You guys familiar with that guy? The artist?
Bagley, I think.
He won Marvel's last, I think it was in the 80s, it was, or maybe early 90s at latest. I'm pretty sure it was around there. He won a contest where Marvel just sort of lets people submit artwork in, and the winner got to draw an issue of, I think it was Spider-Man, I'm not sure.
Oh wow!
But he wanted to become, yeah, he wanted to become Spider-Man's most reliable artist. He did Ultimate Spider-Man, I think, for like 6 or 7 straight years. He's fantastic. So anyway, it's uncommon, but every now and then, just being a fan and writing in or submitting your stuff does work out.
I got a heartbreaking story I can tell you all someday, but that's nice.
First appearance of Catman here. They're really trying to make this guy a thing. Doesn't really connect. They do some Catman stories here. A lot of people are writing in and saying they prefer the John backup.
Was Catman just like a street level vigilante type character?
Yeah, kind of a yeah. It's pretty basic. Nothing very special about him. More about this story. It's basically like science fiction cop stories. Nothing really that special about it. Now here's an interesting editorial from Ron Leishman, who's the co-creator of Captain Canuck, and he explains why he hasn't really been around. And he says he's in Belgium on a mission, so he's also a Mormon. And this is kind of the roast of Richard Cumley a little bit. He keeps calling he kind of like is down on Cumley here. He's trying to make it quite friendly and humorous. So maybe they just had that kind of relationship, but he's talking about how Richard is got a lot of hustle, and he's saying Richard is such a wimp. He's the only guy I know who has to draw with both hands because the pencil is too heavy.
Oh my god.
That's awesome.
So anyway, he's kind of like, the way that I read this is he's defending himself, or like kind of holding his own in the Captain Canuck world, because Captain Canuck was a hit mostly because of the incredible press behind it, kind of patriotic press, right? So, but this all happens with his character while he's off in Belgium, right? So he's saying Richard had done most of the groundwork for the comic, collecting data and other things, And I went to Calgary to work for a year, thinking that things would probably sit still for a while. Little did I know how much energy Richard has. I was pretty surprised when he called me and let me know that he was getting ready to put out a first issue, you know?
Huh.
So he can't really call out Richard and say, like, dude, like, this is my character, and you just went ahead and did the thing. But he's kind of got to support it because it is his character. He wants to do well, but I feel he's inserting himself, saying like, dude, this is my thing, you know. Don't you guys forget it.
Okay, can you indulge me and explain a little bit? So, this guy created him, and then had he existed before in a previous incarnation, like a previous series run or something, and then Comely got the character somehow,
No,
or did
so
he? Okay.
Leishman basically created the character. He drew it. It's kind of a Ditko Lee situation with Spider-Man,
Ah.
where Ditko drew it, right? And Stan Lee
Uh-huh.
kind of said he created it.
Right.
So Cumley is kind of the Stan Lee in this scenario, whereas Leishman is the Ditko in the scenario. Um,
Okay.
so they had talked about a Canadian superhero, and Leishman drew one and said, "How about this guy?" Right? And Cumley's like, "Yeah, that's a great guy," and he started working on it too. So they kind of accepted that it would be a co-creation, right? Um, but then Cumley just like went ahead and put a comic together, right?
Huh.
Um, but I get the impression that Cumley was more of like of a hustler kind of a guy. Like he went ahead and made the connections, put together the money, figured out distribution, and he to this day he's still pushing this Captain Canuck character.
It sounds like he's the one with the business acumen or
Yeah,
the go-getter um mindset.
yeah. In the letters pages here, there's a Time magazine article that's referred to that was not not very praising Captain Canuck of the book, and he
Huh.
kind of fights back a little bit. He kind of says like, "Well, what can I say? It's Time magazine. There's not much I can do." There's a little story here of somebody had printed a Canuck uh, decal onto their Pacer car.
Uh-huh.
It's not a sponsorship or anything, so they drew the car, and so I guess it was driving around Winnipeg. So there was a bit of a fan base for Captain Canuck uh, back in the day. More of the John backup, and this is George Freeman uh, flexing.
So did the enthusiasm for Captain Canuck diminish over time, and that's why he started having financial problems, or was it mismanagement, or do you know?
If I read between the lines, it never really was financially viable enough to work. I mean, distribution to America was spotty at best.
Hmm.
It was, and just the market in Canada is not big. Later, they did break out into the American distribution market, but I think at that point it was just too late.
Hmm.
This is a little write up on Johnny Canuck, who was a kind of a state propaganda figure during the Second World War, to sort of an answer to Uncle Sam.
Oh, right, from National Comics.
Yeah. And this is a reprint of Canuck Kid, which was a kind of an educational comic, teach kids about history. And this comic looks amazing. It's almost like Seth or Robert Crumb or something like that. This is actually beautiful rendering.
Kind of, I do like it. It kind of reminds me of Milton Caniff.
Yes, stuff like that. Like this is a masterful level. This is great. Letkeman, Mr. Letkeman is the name. Um, yeah, just basically like Canadian history taught through the eyes of a little kid, a Canuck kid. There are some Americans who write in and say like, "Isn't Canuck like a pejorative or something?" And so
You know,
they
I was
give
going to
you,
ask you too about that.
yeah, no, it's not really. Nobody cares about that, but it is a
Okay.
little bit like calling if Captain America would be Captain Yankee or something.
Yeah. Well, see, yeah, I guess at one point, a couple hundred years ago, calling us a Yank might have been considered an insult, but like it doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I've never encountered anybody. There's a hockey team called the Canucks. I think Canadians are just happy to have a nickname at all. They're the kid in school who like really wants a nickname. So issue 3 comes out 4 years later.
Oh wow.
So that answers one of my questions. I was going to ask if it was monthly or quarterly or what.
Yeah. The best they ever got was every 2 months. But there was a 4 year gap. They ran out of money.
Wow.
The art quality's noticeably different.
Yeah, well, here it's Freeman, right?
That's great.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah, he's
Free,
getting creative with the panels too.
yeah. And so at this point, I think it just like the first 3 were kind of a flop. They just ran out of money, and he kept hustling, and eventually he got picked up by a distribution company called CKR, who ultimately became based out of Calgary, who uh, after some time made inroads into the American market. So, and you can tell like there's no more, there's the American ads are just basically none anymore, and it's all in-house ads, pretty much. And you can tell like somebody somewhere said, okay, we gotta polish the edges of this thing here. And there's just they made it look a lot more professional. The storytelling improves.
It does look remarkably better than those early ones.
Yeah. I still don't find that it's very it's not hooking me like Richard Cumley's scripts. It's just not pulling me in. This one has to do with like a drug thing on a secret island. It's it's okay, but I mean I'm not reading them very carefully, these stories, but the artwork's wonderful. I do think this is actually really good.
That's incredible.
It's beautiful. That's just beautiful lines here. Just stunning explosion.
You know what that reminds me of, Ulysses?
What's that?
Reminds me of that Spirit Girl cover reveal. I just looked at the way the
This one
body's
here?
arched like that,
Oh,
with your
this one
character
here.
like diving off the cliff.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Some fan art. They start sending in fan art. So it's odd because the book gets better, but in a way it's less interesting because there isn't that exuberant enthusiasm, we're going to
Hmm.
conquer the world energy anymore. It's they've they've become more like professionals, right?
It matured.
Yeah, exactly. So here he
But that's a
answers
shame, though.
the 3 year recess. He says straight up, due to the lack of that frivolous green stuff. He says, thanks to the news media and the fan support, The Captain was a bestseller, but that still wasn't enough to cover the high production costs.
Man,
I'm skeptical that if it was a bestseller, that it wasn't covering the costs. I mean, that doesn't really qualify as a bestseller to me.
unless their margins just weren't, I don't know, I'm not a business guy.
Yeah.
But it's sad that you had to rely on the American market to make it work.
Yeah. Such is life.
That's a
Here,
lot of.
go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off there.
So I just want to throw in a quip. That's how most of Canadian economy works.
Yeah, it's just a
Like
reality.
80% of the market, I think, is in the States.
Yeah. Unless we figured out how to actually make use of our natural resources, but so far, no one's, for some weird reason, no one's figured that out.
It's purposeful. We sell the resources to the States. Like, we'll sell the wood to the States, and the States will make a table out of it and sell it back to us at a giant premium.
It sounds
Ouch.
a total mafia type deal.
Yeah.
Sounds like what the Chinese have been doing to us with our money.
Yeah.
There's a little blurb here. Unceremoniously, Ron Leishman announces his complete departure from the Captain Canuck project.
This is issue 4?
This is, 4.
Wow. Look, that's great.
Yeah, that's not bad.
It is really nice.
So they try to push this Catman character. Nothing really of note of him. He's got there's a crashed spaceship and a Sasquatch in there for some reason.
What?
It's bizarre.
I don't see
Yeah.
why they wouldn't, because camp was okay back then. It's not that there's necessarily campy in comic books, but if he's called Catman, why doesn't he have a cat motif?